afternoon and welcome to Business Growth Strategies for People and Products. So this is lesson 3, webinar 3 in the series of growth strategies for the business. So welcome to those of you who are joining us, and both here and on Facebook and on our blog. Please, if you've got any questions throughout this, even if you are watching the recording, let us know, drop us a note, drop us an email. The information is at the end of the video. So we look forward to that. So this is number 3 we're looking at. We've done an introduction, and if you haven't seen the introduction or the first one on purpose, then please go back and view the videos. It'll make a lot more sense if you know where we're at and where we're going. And last week we understood the words, the sentences you should be writing down to define the purpose of your organization and where you need to go through. Today we're speaking, what strategies do you have around your people and your products? But just as a way of a review, what is a strategy? Well, a strategy is a plan, a set of actionable plans that takes you from here to there. And the assumption that we spoke about is firstly that you know where here is, and you've also defined where there is in as much information as you can. So the strategy is the red arrow that gets you there and understands where you are and where you need to be. Strategy is made up of a number of things. It's linked to a vision. A vision is the end goal. It defines what there is. It's got focus areas, split those up into focus areas. Each focus area has got goals. Every goal has got actions, and then we define the wildly important goal, which is what the WIGS is all about, which are the goals, the kind of critical path goals, if you're looking at that point, and what are the most important goals, and you can define those per week, per month, per quarter, or even per year. You can have wildly important goals, and those are not exclusive goals. Those are goals that you focus on a regular basis with a bit more effort because they are wildly important. So today we're going to speak a little bit. These are very much headlines, and we'll unpack them a little bit as we go there. But a lot of people have staff, a lot of companies have staff, and there's not much strategy around the staff, and it's understanding what that is. So here's some ideas, and they're more kind of questions. Do you have the following strategies? Do you have these in your company? Do you have a staff onboarding strategy, a process? Do staff that join you go through a induction process? Are they introduced to what the company's all about, the culture, the expected behavior? Do they have job descriptions? Do they have contracts? Do they have good KPIs and focus areas that they are supposed to work on? Do most staff members now join? They go through an initial 3 or 6 months probation period where there's key defined KPAs and KPIs for that period. And if you're expecting your staff to join and then be up to speed in a matter of hours, then the expectation is often not going to be met because people take time. In a larger organization or a strange organization, I mean strange as in, somebody's walked into an area from some other expertise or some other type of company culture into your culture. It can take up to a year for that person to learn how the company works and get into the different cycles and the different behaviors and that. And it's mostly, we find that if you're joining a large corporation or a new type of company, especially NPO or something that's very socially organized, and it takes time to understand, it takes time to unpack the different aspects of the organization, and understand, to be able to contribute forward into something. You need to understand how the whole thing, otherwise you get off and you're trying to take over and that. So a good staff onboarding strategy is key. Then you've got to have a staff retention strategy. Now, staff retention, I was driving behind a car this morning, and I was reading all the stuff on the back window, and they do staff retention consulting, and they was talk about the science and the art of rewarding staff. And you might know the company. And their job is they're an outsourced company, and they come in and they will incentivize staff to stay with you by setting goals, setting achievements and rewards and all that, so you can get your trip at the end of the year, or the slab of chocolate, whatever it is there, to be able to get that. I used to work for IBM, and those people who met their goals and exceeded those goals were rewarded with overseas trips to various places where all the IBMers around the world gathered as a celebration of the top performing staff members, that they were able to do that, and people went wild for that. We've got cruise ships that people get a free holiday, a free 3-day cruise, to be able to do that. There's certain incentives, but the problem is with handing gifts out is that it creates an expectation of that the gifts have to get better or remain the same. You can never go back. You can't give a 3-day ocean cruise to your staff this year and then a head and shoulder massage the next year. So you've got to be careful on how you incentivize staff, because it can actually be counterproductive and very demotivating when the budget doesn't allow for that. So I always say rather have continual thanks and praise and feedbacks and stuff. It's instead of trying to motivate people with some big carrot at the end of the year, which often cannot be fulfilled. So you've got to be careful of staff retention. There's been a lot written about that, and it's a very interesting thing. But change in an office and constant energy, constant praise, constant feedback, constant interaction is a good way to keep your staff, not just once-off gifts that allow you to sit there and I'll send you a bottle of wine for Christmas and then all will be well. It doesn't always work that well. Staff empowerment, this is another one. What is your strategy about staff empowerment? What are you looking at in empowering your staff members to speak up, make decisions, be who they all can be, to be able to contribute to the functionality or the profitability of your company? Have you got staff empowerment? So again, if you read leadership manuals and stuff, is that staff will always rise up to the potential that you expect from them. So if you treat staff like criminals, they're going to become criminals. If you treat staff with respect and power and give them the capabilities to grow, then they're going to grow. So it's very important to be able to empower staff. And obviously depends on the level of staff and quality of staff and numbers of staff, and all very, very difficult. But in all likelihood is that if you treat staff as adults, they're going to behave like adults. If you treat them as kids and criminals, then guess what? That's what you're going to get. So you need to be careful with that. And this is an interesting debate which I've had with a number of people. And a number of organizations have very different views to me on that. And I'm willing to engage with you if you don't agree with me, and we can sit down, have a cup of coffee and chat about it. Another strategy is staff education as well. Is, are you educating your staff? Are you treating your staff with enough respect to empower them and educate them, and not just, oh, here's a course, here's a book, read this and stuff, but a regular, empowerment thing. So go and educate yourself, go do this course. A lot of corporates pay for courses to do. There's a lot of free courses that you can do. But I really believe that if a staff member goes on a course, then they need to teach that course and come back and empower others, because it's in the teaching that you do the learning. So we have a Monday staff meeting, and the feedback into that is, and if anybody's learned anything, they reteach it to everybody else, and we're able to grow like that. And it's interesting to be able to get to that point. Then legacy planning, and this is a really interesting one. I had a chat to a few organizations last week, and they were saying that it's amazing that when one staff member leaves, and staff do leave because they are able to, and staff do leave, what they leave with is not only the intelligence and the wisdom that they've had in the job, but they also leave with the relationships that they've had with suppliers and clients. And it's very important to have a legacy planning around your staff, to be able to share the knowledge, share the wisdom, and remember, share those relationships. It's no use putting all your eggs in one basket to say, this is our main person. They know all the people that they do that, because if they leave, and they often leave and take those relationships away from you and array around there. So you've got to have legacy planning strategies around that. And it's often very important with that. And if you don't wait until things go wrong and implement legacy planning, it should be part of the culture of the business to make sure that it's legacy planning right from day one. So I used to say in corporate is that from day one, you not only learn how to do your job, but you find out whose job you can take and empower two people underneath you to take your job. And that's a good career path. It's good legacy planning, and it's a matter of gives you a goal to move forward, but then also making sure that there's no voids. I've seen so many people in corporates who cannot be promoted because they've worked themselves so much into job security that no one else can do their job, and they cannot then become the boss, and they get passed over and get very hacked off, and then they leave then a huge hole in the process forming. So be careful of that and get that around. So what about people that are not staff? We have people who are suppliers, people who are associates, contract workers, people that you work with. And do you have SLAs? And that stands for service level agreements. Do you have a level of contract with your suppliers? Do you have a level of contract with your associates? Do you empower those people to be part of your culture? Do you share your vision and values with them in the service level agreement? So if I work for another company on a certain project, and we do that a lot, we create flat teams. Say, so today I could be working here and tomorrow I'm part of another organization, but using my expertise. When I'm there, I represent that brand, that company. But I can only do that well if I know what their vision and their values are and what their culture is. So it's very important in our contracts between service providers that we share those sort of things, and we share that vision and the values around that. And then we've also got to have a way to resolve any conflict, and creating conflict resolution strategies within that service level agreement is that what are the issues, how do we resolve these things? And they could be resolved around, it could be pay, it could be when things go wrong, when you have to work extra overtime, etc., etc. And relationships don't always work, especially on outsourced things, and especially with suppliers when things go wrong. What is the agreement on handling conflict? And that's a good strategy to have within your business. It's a good process to have within your business to make sure that you don't get left in a big hole. We've had a whole bunch of horror stories that people get involved in. Got it? Right, let's move on to product strategy. And this is a strategy around your products and about how that works. So creating a product brand around that, and every product brand has, you might have a company with different products or different product departments or sectors. Each one has a separate brand, each one has a separate identity, a different character, and each one needs to be developed in accordance with that. So you should be looking at a complete sales funnel aspect of what you can do with your organization, and looking at brand, creating that product brand or the brand within the product, and creating a strategy to develop that brand and giving that brand some character, giving that brand some identity. And I'd like to refer you now to some of our previous webinars on developing stories around your brand and all those different archetype characters around your brand. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, go back and visit those, because it's vitally important to be able to do that. Also creating a brand footprint, and we always speak about the brand footprint. Is where is your footprint? How many people know about your brand? How many people know about your organization? So if you went to the office next door and said, do you know what we do? And if you went across the road and said, hi, do you know what we do? And you emailed this person a bit further away, and how many people know what you do? How effective is your brand footprint stuff there? And it's often right where we are that we lack, because we become so outward focused that we forget to market within our own neighborhood. And so many people, organizations work in big buildings, and we never share our brands or ideas with people. We travel, many miles to go find services where actually they could be right here within, arm's reach of where you are. So it's really interesting to just go around and meet the people, meet your neighbors, meet the people in your local area. And it also lowers your carbon footprint for procuring in, suppliers as well, but it's also very important to grow your footprint. And of course, growing your footprint online is the easiest way to be able to do that, and using social media, blogs, webinars, online training, etc., etc. So if you go look at the little footprint map that we have on our blog, it's evident that we're pretty much expanding all the time, and these webinars are being viewed by people all around the world and in many different countries across the planet. So we've got that. So here's an interesting, what is your strategy for customer retention? What are you using to retain your customers? Much the same as you have a strategy for retaining your staff members. What are you doing to retain your customers? Now, speaking to a lady yesterday, she does corporate gifts, and she says she just loves this time of year because this is the time where all the companies buy the gifts for their suppliers and buy the gifts for all the people to build that retention for their best customers and their best people. So it's always interesting, a lot of bottles of wines and biltong and chips and snacks and corporate giftings and folders and tickets to sports events and music events are handed out. And it's all there to build that relationship. And you must just be very careful not to end up bribing to be seen as a bride, but seen as a thank you gift. So be careful of that, because especially in South Africa, it's a very fine line. And make sure that before you do anything that you apply the company rules around that. I've seen, again, people get beautiful gifts and have to give them back because the company policy says, no, you can't eat that chocolate. You've got to give it back. And it's often heartbreaking. So again, it's that communication backwards and forwards with that. So you've got to switch over customers per brand as well, as that how do you what is your strategy for growing your products, but getting customers from that might be using another brand other than the one you provide. So what is that? How does that look like? What is your strategy to firstly expose people to what you offer, and then to capture them from that brand? So if you sell, X and the company's using Y, how do you then, how do you get that customer to stop using that product and using yours? So there's a couple of strategies with that, and we can unpack that in marketing a little later, but it's just something to think about. If you're wanting to grow your footprint and you can't because a lot of people are using the competitors, then you've got to have an invasion, a headhunt, key activities that you're doing to capture that market and to be able to do that. And that's an interesting one to look at. So then we got new customers. What strategy have you got when a new customer comes in? This is not a crossover customer. This is a brand new customer. They come in there. Are you wooing them? Are you onboarding them? Are you empowering them? Are you upselling them? Are you right-selling them? And are you then converting them into repeat customers? And all those are key strategies as part of your sales funnel strategy, and it's where you get the customer. So many companies stop talking to the customer once you've made a sale. And once you've made a sale, you kind of tick the box and say, okay, cool, money's in the bank, we can move on there. But it's very important to be able to onboard those customers, to upsell them for all the products. So we have a number of key entry points within our organization, and there's always a strategy of how do we cross-sell, how do we upsell, and how do we then expose that customer to everything else that we have, and to be able to offer that service, not to manipulate, but to empower the customer through a full service offering. So really interesting with that, to be able to sort of look at that, get there. And that pretty much leads into what are the associated bundle or upsell that you have. So if a customer comes in to buy, it's like buying a car, and then you sell them a maintenance plan, and then you sell them a tire insurance, and you sell them a thing for the paint and insurance and all that sort of stuff. So what else can you bundle with that to upsell with that? And people love bundled. We get exposed to that a lot in the fast food thing. Is you buy a hamburger and a Coke and chips, and it's cheaper than if you buy them individually. And we get coerced into that, and we buy a combo or a bundle and an upsell with that, and it works. So fast food people still doing it, but many other people don't. So what else can you add to that? And it's amazing that if you want to expose people to a new area of your organization, you can drop in a free service level of that product for a certain amount and do that. And you see that a lot in online, where you can subscribe to an app or a product or a service online, and you get a free period, and then there's a free level of it. But when you're on the free level, they keep on upselling. Oh, but if you had this, you can do so much more, and so then you buy the next level, and then they upsell you to the next level, and you buy that one, and then they upsell you to the next level, until you get to the pro version, where you're getting all those activities. And people like that journey. It's about building that level of trust as you go there. You build that relationship with the brand or the product, and you want more of it. And you've got to be ready to offer that when your clients are ready to buy. If you're not ready for it, then they won't buy, and they're not going to be spending more of their share of wallet with you. With that. And then there's an interesting one, which we always have, income diversification per product. And that's a big fancy kind of MBA word that we throw around here. But ultimately, if you just sit back and say, well, I sell this product, and we offer that product in, this way, and what else could we use that product or the service to create other forms of income? And a simple example that I always use, we have a training room. We have a beautiful training room that's all rigged out with, audio visual, and it's got desks and chairs and flip charts and whiteboards and everything there. And we run workshops with it. And we created the training room for our workshops. It's our training room, and that's what we had there. And then we sat down and said, hang on, we've got this training room. What else could we use the training room for? So we rent the training room out to other people who run workshops there. And it's really good for us because people come and get exposed to our brand. We host a number of talks. We host a number of other clubs that come in the evenings and during the week. And it's an interesting that we're able to then get exposure for our brand and alternate forms of income from other people and get that in. That's product diversification or brand diversification. What else can you have use that? And it's a nice example that we've been kind of looking at is a lot of schools are using their school buildings, and by 3 or 4 o'clock the school is deserted. And on weekends the entire school is deserted. The classrooms are empty and everything. And what else could we use public schools for to create a better community, a better society? Could we run adult classes? Could we run extra lessons? Could we run extra murals and all that sort of stuff? And that's an interesting discussion that we've had recently, just looking at leveraging assets of the state for greater good of the community. But what are you doing to leverage your assets or your opportunities or your brands when they're not being used or could be multi-used and repurposed for something else to create other forms of income? A lot to think about and a lot to do. Now, I'm not expecting you to go and write all these strategies out this afternoon, but it is something to maybe add to the next meeting, your next staff meeting. Take one of these points, take one or two, and map them over the next kind of 3 months and kind of flesh them out and get to an understanding, the right procedures around them, and develop your company, because it's all about growth and it's all about getting to the next level and growing your organization in that. So we've spoken about purpose statements and the strategy of why your company exists. We've spoken today a little bit about people and the products and the strategies around that you should have. And this is not marketing, this is not product development, it's not anything else. It's just pure strategies that the owners of the business directors, board members should be talking about on a regular basis in their meetings, and developing those to grow the company and make it more sustainable. Next week, we speak about the last two P's, the processes and the profits. And we've touched quite a lot on the processes, but we're going to unpack that a little bit more. And we're going to start looking at profits and the money. And that should wrap up then our growth strategies for this month. And next month, we've got some exciting stuff there. We're just putting the final touches and the bow on the top for that. And we'll tell you next week what that's all about with that. So if you want to chat to me, my name's Bruce Wade, and you can get hold of me at bruce@emsolutions.co.za or visit us at emsolutions.co.za, and we're happy to have that chat with you, happy to engage with you. Come and chat to me on Skype, or if you're in Cape Town, drop into our offices, come have a coffee and a consultation, and we'll enhance both you and your business to heights that you could probably never dream of. We look forward to chatting to you further. My name is Bruce Wade. We'll chat next week. Cheers.